So farmers, welcome to our Agribusiness Media Weekly webinars. I'm Rollins, your host for today's session on profitable green mealie farming. This webinar is brought to you in partnership with SeedCo and the ZFC. We will cover everything from variety selection, soil health, crop protection, and everything that you need to know concerning green mealie production. And just a reminder that we are live on the Agribusiness Media and SeedCo Facebook pages. Green mealie production is more than just a hobby. It is a business opportunity. With the right knowledge and tools, you can turn your farm into a profitable business. The demand for off-season green mealies is increasing, thus making it a good investment. Our expert panel today includes Wendy Madzura from SeedCo and Justice Chembele from the ZFC. They will share their knowledge through presentations, and we'll have a question and answer session where you can directly interact with our presenters. So first, Wendy Madzura will talk about variety selection, best farming practices, and the SeedCo's unique varieties. Wendy, please go for it.
Kudai tiri mumusika mumbare muharare guta guru reharare tiri kusangana navarimi vachirima chibage cheSeedCo vanotenga nevanondotengesa nevanondobika. Zvino mangwana kana kudai tasangana vari panzvimbo dzakasiyana siyana. Tine murimi wedu anonzi Maidefini mangwanani akanaka. Tinofara zvedu maidefini ndauda muchisabva chibage chenyu chimakanyatsosununguka muchifara kune chando chakadai asi murodza mufaro wakasimba. Maidefini chibage ichi chamuri kunotengesa mochitengesera kupi?
Chibage ichi ndinochitengesera kuWaterfalls mainly.
Tinotenda chii chamunonyanya kufarisira chamotarisira pakutengesa chibage chenyu uye chamotarisira kutengera chii chavanofarira?
Tinofambudza chibage chinenge chakasvika mukati uye zvendinotarisa green yechibage manakiro echibage kutoti vatengi vangu vanenge vachifara nacho.
Ko vanotenga chibage chenyu maidefini chagochewa pane dzimwe zvavanotsanangura here pakunaka kwacho nekutapira kwacho chii chimwe chavanotsanangura pamusoro chibage chenyu?
Chibage changu chandinotengesa vanochiti chinonaka chinenge chakasvika mukati macho.
Chinenge chakasvika mukati macho?
Chinova pasi.
Aiwa, tinotenda maidefini. Tanzwa vana maidefini vachitaura iwe kuti vanodhira nechoice nequality. Saka kuzoti quality yavo iyi ndembeu dzipi? Maidefini kachida kuzova kuti mbeu dzamunoshandisa paquality kuti vanhu venyu vagotengera zvakanaka ndedzipi? Sunungukai kuti tsanangura maidefini.
Vatengi vangu vanotenga chibage changu vanofarira chibage chinonzi mbizi, nzou neshumba kunyanya cheKenya. That's why ndichimukira makuseni kuya kumaketi kuti ndikwanise kutorera varimi.
Chibage chamunotora chequality zvinobhadhara here pabhizinesi renyu? Zvine pundutso maidefini sunungukai.
Chatinohodza ichi chiri fresh chinobhadhara zvisingaiti nokuti zvinodzoona vangu ndakatorera nechibage ichi ndatove ne16 years ndiri muchibage tichitengesa. Saka rambai makadaro.
Tatenga maidefini, tavanzwa vachipupura vega maidefini kuti hanzi chibage chavari kutaura chinobhadhara. Hanzi chibage chavo chinonyanya kuvabhadhara ndechembeu yenzou, mbeu yeshumba, mbeu yembizi. Vazopedzisira vachiti pane chibage chinonzi firecracker chinotapira pakugocha chavati chinonzi 608 chinobva mukambani yeSeedCo. Right, tiri mumusika mumbare mangwanani akanaka kudai tisangana navarimi vadiki. Nasangana mukoma same order vachitenga chibage chavo. Koma same order mangwanani akanaka. Damuka zvakanaka. Chibage chamuri kutenga chandikona chamuri kufarira kudai chiri kubva kuti?
Chibage ichi chinobva mumapurazi.
Chiri kubva mumapurazi.
Tozouya muno mumbare musika tozouya.
Chii chamunonyanya kufarira pachibage chamuri kutenga ichi?
Chibage ichi chandinochifarira kuona kuti kana pakugocha chibage ichi chinoita zvisikati. Nekuti kana test yacho vabereki vanoramba.
saka chibage ichi kana machitora mwana nedzipi dzipwa munosvika muchinotengesera vabereki kuti vakomba vanotenga chibage
ini ndinotengesera pamusika pana pambari pamabhazi uye zvechibage ichi kai zvakanakira ndo inonzi firecracker inodiwa firecracker ine advantage one hapana mai wacho paipa inogona kuita 3 days and 4 days isina kuluza test saka zvokuti ndakahodha kana nhasi zvinokwanisa kuchigota kana mangwana
tatenga kwama semi-firecracker ndo chibage chamusaoga tenga nguva nenguva ndinotanga Varieties hamufana kuva muchigumira kwatiri aiwa tinotenda mukoma
handiti aiwa vabereki vanotochifarira takachishaya chibage cheSeedCo pamusika
ndinotenda ramba wakadero murimi wechidiki ndozova kuchakura nokuda kwechibage cheSeedCo chauri kutaura tadei kusangana mukoma tinashe chavaramba vachibva kuchiweshi vachiverenga dzutswa remari mangwanani akadai mukoma tinashe kuona kuti mari yako kuverenga kubva kupi mangwanani akadai
mari ndaiwana mushure menge ndatengesa chibage changu cheSeedCo chandakarima kuchiweshi negumwe ringe cheSteam mbeu iyi inofatirwa nevanotenga nekuti inochengetedza quality yayo inogona mazuva maviri kana matatu ichitengesa chibage uyezve chinochengetedza green wacho kwenguva refu
tazinzwa kuti mukoma tinashe vaitwa dzutswa remari nenyaya yechibage cheSeedCo vari kutsananguraivo vachiti chibage chinokwanisa kupedza mazuva 3-4 chisati chaluza test yacho zvinova zvakanakira vanhu vacho ndozvaivaitisa mari mukoma tinashe vachibva pachiwezha tinotenda mangwanani akanaka kudai tiri muguta reHarare mumbare musika tiri kusangana nomurimi atiye ane makore akawanda anonzi Bothwell anobva pamhondoro apa mukoma Bothwell mangwanani akanaka titsanangure pamusoro pechibage cheSeedCo
chibage cheSeedCo takatanga tichitengesa 6 ova iyo yellow maize iyo yakati zvipe ichidiwa nemakastoma yakazouya ichitorerwa chimuti ne727 iyo yakuya yakati inoda kufidwa fidhai varimi fidhai mbeu iyo
koma Bothwell vari kuti ivo vane 18 years vachitengesa chibage ichi asi vatsanangura pamusoro pembeu yavati iyo yadetsa pamukukura kwomuguri wayo hanzi tine 727 ine muguri wavanga vachienzanisa noruoko rwavo runobva pagopora kusvika panoperera ruoko hanzi ichiteerwazve ne719 vazopedzisira vava kuti hanzi tine inonzi yellow maize inova tapira pakugocha hanzi zita rayo vanoiti firecracker kureva kuti chibage ichi chakanakira nyika yese tatenda mukoma Bothwell rambai makanero zvinokuitisai mari
Tware tinotenga pano chibage chinesanga chekutapira aiwa ndosaka maona izvi zviri kuenda kubasa sindaona kuti ndishande ndisina kujambeu yeSeedCo hazviiti zvinondinakira izvi zvinozonditarisa kana ndakuenda kukugomba ndinova ndichitenga pano aiwa rambai muripo mamabasa rakanaka neniwo ndinorushura nekuti zvinoita kuti kambani yeSeedCo inde mberi nekuti tinochifarira kune chimwe chandaiitenga panapa ndamboedza ndichitenga petasi ndakaona kuti hazviita pandakazongoya panapa ka aiwa mukuwira chibage ichi aiwa makandikuwira chibage chinonaka tsanga dzacho ihombe toti kutapira kungodya muguri 1 kudai kana mari yebhazi unogona kuishayi todzoka kutenga chimwe bhuti aiwa mamaramba ine basa rendinotenda ambongona tsanga idzi dzakakura zvokuti chero une mari yebhazi unongodzoka kuti ndonotsvakira mberi chipei aiwa ndinotenda mama ndipei mari yebhazi aiwa mbeu yakanaka rambai muchihodha mbeu iyo yeSeedCo yakanaka zvisingaiti.
Hello everybody. My name is Michelle Batumba and I'm 35 years old and I found out here in Centenary, Mashonaland Central Province. SeedCo has come out today so that we can showcase our winter green mealies. We're so excited about this crop because Wendy pushed us over and over again to try a new SeedCo variety, which is the SC555. It's quite a new variety. It's resistant to a lot of things, and it was quite an experiment to do it through winter. We planted in April, and we're hoping to have it out the field in the next 2 weeks. As you can see, it doesn't grow extremely tall, but it was very long cobs. This is our second try with it, and I don't think when it comes to green mealies, we'll be using any other variety. We do produce seed maize for SeedCo as well. We're doing a bit of wheat, SeedCo Select, which they will showcase and show you. Yeah, we're quite hyped about SeedCo. SeedCo is out there here. We did some soya beans as well for SeedCo. In all honesty, farming is not easy. It's not as beautiful as we make it look. It's not as glamorous as we've tried to make it all look, but we've tried to enjoy every minute of it. It is really a game of skill, consistency, a lot of research, and then also a lot of trial and error. That's also where it comes in, where we're excited to try out new varieties, because issues of climate change and so many other issues also with our soils. It's always important that you should be somebody who's able to adapt. And once again, we have adapted from the 6 series and the 7 series down to a 5 series crop for our green mealies, and it's working wonders. I'd also like to just encourage younger farmers, younger people such as myself, women, that it's not impossible. It's something that can be done. I am doing it. A lot of other young women are doing it. We now have extension officers, amazing, beautiful extension officers such as Wendy. There's more access to information over the phone, over WhatsApp. You can phone your extension officer at any time to ask for information. There's so few information. There's also a lot of innovation coming up, I think, and that has helped. It's making it more efficient, we're more productive. And guys, we're on our way back to bring the breadbasket of Africa. And it's important that we put in the work. The generation before us, we cannot expect the people who are above us, our parents, to keep doing this work for us. It's important that we take over our farms. A lot of us have parents who have farms, and this is a whole new revolution that has started. Come out, guys, to the country. Let's make money in the country and go back and spend it in the city.
Greetings to you all, and welcome to the well-timed webinar on green mealie, gocha maize production, which is a crop to consider when we get out of the winter season, as the dawn of a new season always brings with it new prospects for increasing crop productivity. With that in mind, I would like to present on green mealie profitability, highlighting the profit story. We'll also look at the varieties that you might want to consider for green mealie production, coupled with the good agronomic practices that will unlock the value. My name is Wendy Madzura, and I'm the head of Agronomy Services for SeedCo Zimbabwe. And this webinar is being brought to you, if you have already heard, by Agribusiness Media, and it's co-hosted between SeedCo and ZFC. So just to summarize the 2 clips that we have just seen of the farmer in Centenary, a young, vibrant young woman who is doing very well in her enterprise, Michelle Gwatimba, who is established SC555, a green mealie crop. As you can see there, it's a sizable cob indeed, whereby in green mealies you sell by the number of cobs, the size of cobs that you will have produced. And you have heard from Mishi that she's happy with the produce that she has, and it's not her first time. She has done this before, and this is the second time for her to be establishing this variety, particularly favoring its taste and its roasting qualities that it has. So indeed, green mealie is a crop to consider, and SC555 is a blockbuster, giving farmers that effect that is good when they are producing for grain, for silage, or even for green mealies. So it's a crop to consider, but you will hear of more varieties as we proceed with the presentation. And also to just summarize the profit story of the Murimisi, the famous Murimisi, one of the biggest farmers markets in Zimbabwe. It is found in Harare, and there we find that there is a lot of business that is going on, where our farmers come in early hours of the morning to sell their produce and get their money in cash, and then they go and sell. Some of them will be buying to go and roast the green mealies and sell, and some farmers will be buying for resale at their different local areas. And you find that we have people coming from as far as other provinces, from Chegutu, Chinoi. You find people coming from Kwekwe, Bluewayo, all the way from Mutare to come and buy green mealies from Baremstika, because these are crops that might be off season and they will be profitable in those different areas if the timing is correct, particularly when the demand is high and the supply is low. So there's a hype of activity at Baremstika. As you can see, a wide range of varieties will be there, and the favorability of your produce will determine the profitability that you will make in the end. As you can see, there are some farmers flocking the fresh cobs of maize that we are seeing there of the variety SC 419 and SC 555 versus the other varieties that are in the back there that also seem to have lost their quality in terms of the shelf life that we are seeing. So the shelf life, the taste, the sweetness, the roasting quality, as well as the cob size are also preferred traits in green mealie production. And we are seeing there on the right a picture of a happy a businessman who sells their produce in Mbare. Some might want to call them makoronyera, but these are the people who are making money from selling the green mealies to other farmers, having not produced the green mealies themselves. So you're seeing there, early morning, we were there in Baremsika at around 6:30, and he was already holding about $400, which is to say it's a profitable venture if done correctly, the right time, and if you are placed in the right market. So market analysis is always very important. Then we are also seeing there at the bottom Amaitino, who is selling her sizable cobs of green mealies, the variety being SC727. We also have on her roasting tray there SC 555, which are varieties of choice. So it means that these are crops that you can produce and sell profitably if you have done your homework and if you start with the right seed. With that in mind, the webinar objectives are as follows. We want to discuss why green mealie production is important. We'll then highlight the profit story of green mealies. We'll then look at the essential elements for production, while we also then unpack the good agronomic practices that unlock the genetic potential of these executive genetics that SeedCo has in its wide product basket, from early, medium, late maturing varieties that suit within the green mealie productivity cycle. We'll also look at variety choice in a bit of detail, just highlighting some of the varieties that are available. The new SeedCo genetics, as we believe in constantly channeling out new innovative seed technologies that speak to climate change in a bid to mitigate the effects of climate change and also to bring the much needed benefits that our farmer might be looking for, that include the yield and the quality of the produce. So why green mealie production? According to Agronomy who is the two-time president of the African Development Bank, he said, and I quote, by 2030, the size of the food and agriculture business in Africa, yes, I would want it to be in Zimbabwe at some point, as we are going for growth, as is the mantra of the Minister of Agriculture. But the words of Agronomy were, by 2030, the size of the food and agriculture business in Africa will reach 1 trillion. So if you are thinking of how to make money, that's the sector to be in. So there's a tip if you're thinking of making money and becoming a billionaire and joining the Billionaires Club. You also need to consider being a seasoned farmer by the time we get to 2030, having started now, starting again with the right seed. So green mealie is a cash crop. It means that it is a high return on investment. It enhances cash flows at the farm. You don't want to run dry at a time when maybe you have harvested your summer crop or your winter crop, and then in between you don't have anything else to sell. You want to constantly be going on the market. After about a month, 2 months, you want to be going back to the market to be selling, because farming is indeed a formidable business that you can do, and you can also sustain your families and grow your enterprise through also diversifying into multiple streams of income. It is also a healthy source of food where you find that the nutritional value of the grain is preserved, in the sense that there is no value addition processes that will have gone into the grain. You just cook it fresh and you will also get the value out of it. Then it also gives in effective land utilization, particularly if you have irrigation. You don't want your land to lie fallow when you have irrigation. You would rather come in with double or triple cropping, provided you're in areas that allow you to do so. And if you're in frost-free areas, green mealie is a crop that you can do. Like those farmers in the low veld, low-lying areas, they can also do it because of the lower heat unit, the higher heat units that they experience even through the winter period. Green mealie production also creates employment. So we want to discuss in a bit of detail the profitability or the profit story, which is the gist of this presentation, whereby the gross margin principle highlights that for every dollar invested, you can get between $1.50, $2, and up to around $3 if good agronomic practices are employed and if you start the right way with the right seed and if your timing is correct. So the cost of production for green mealies ranges, but may also be out of this range, provided you have also mitigated your input costs. But the average or the general rough rule of thumb is that the cost ranges between $800 to $900 per hectare, and the total variable costs, which include your seed, your fertilizer, your pesticides, your irrigation, and your labor, will be encompassed in that cost of between $800 to about $900. It can go above if so your input cost is high, or it can go below if you have managed to reduce your input cost by sourcing cheaper but reliable and reputable inputs, particularly looking at your fertilizers, insecticides, herbicides, and fungicides. But I hasten to say that sometimes cheap is not always cheap. You might end up paying the price in not getting the value. So sometimes investing and buying from reputable suppliers is highly recommended. Then between 3,000 to 3,500 dozens of green mealies per hectare can be obtained, and if you sell these 3,000 to 3,500 dozens of green mealies per hectare, one dozen is likely to fetch between a US dollar $1.20 to US dollar $1.50 or even $2.50, depending on the selling window. Where we are saying at this time, soon after winter, people will be craving green mealies, so you might fetch more money, and some people might not have risked growing the green mealies in the window, in the winter window. So if you have a crop at this time, then it is most likely to be profitable. Then you can also get between 3,600 to around 5,250 per hectare in a period of about 4 months. Imagine this is profitable. And we are saying 4 months because green mealies usually matures within about 100 to 120 days, starting from our early to our late maturing varieties, because this is the flowering or the milk dough stage. It is the milk dough stage where you find that green mealies is usually sold, which is about 2 to 3 weeks after the flowering of that particular variety. So this also differs, but we'll get into more detail as we discuss the varieties. It is recommended to stagger the crop to widen the selling window and realize higher profitability. The time of planting in green mealie production. For those farmers who are in areas that are frost-free, you can afford to plant your crop throughout the year. Maybe you can have 3 cropping cycles of your maize. But in frost-prone areas, crop damage at early stages of growth might occur. Floral sterility is also an incident that might come in, and unsellable small cobs may be obtained because of the lower heat units that affects the rate of growth and the ultimate outlook of the crop or the cob. So the optimum sowing time after frost occurrence is the best, but in the high veld areas after the last week of July, in the low veld, you can establish any time of the year. Why? Because the heat units there are slightly higher, and our agronomist, who is currently in the Middle Sabi area, at the Chireds area, was highlighting that there is a hypereffectivity of green mealie being sold and farmers coming from as far as Harare to buy from those areas, because at the time when green mealie is produced in the low veld, most people won't be able to produce because of the risk of frost. So you need to unlock the genetic potential through employing good agronomic practices. So we'll highlight in brief some of the good agronomic practices that you need to employ. And it starts with you understanding and nurturing your soil type. If you know your soil type, which is guided by soil analysis, it also helps you to understand the fertility requirements, the weed management, insect pest management, disease management, along with other principles that fall within the umbrella term good agronomic practices as highlighted there. And the management is the glue that holds everything together, because with the same resources, at the same timing, in the same environment, you get different results. It then boils down to the level of management which is employed. So you need to be on top of the situation when you are establishing your crop. So the planting tips and the seed rates. The land preparation for conventional or conservation tillage is what we recommend, but conservation particularly is recommended because it has extra benefits that speak to water conservation. You also reduce the cost of irrigation if you also have conservation principles like your mulching. You come in with your no-till or minimum tillage, you reduce on the cost even of the land preparation operation, whereby primary tillage operations might be more costly than you coming in with conservation, provided the right tools or the right implements are in place. If you are a small-scale farmer, maybe you can use your Vumvuza concept to dig your holes so that you also get value. But if you are a resource-endowed farmer, you can also embrace the use of technologies like your no-till or zero-till planters, which will also then improve your efficiency while at the same time applying principles that adhere to the sustainable agriculture initiatives that we constantly advocate for. So a fine tilt is recommended, whereby your crop, your seed has a good seed to soil contact. It also boils down to the fine tilt, whether it's conservation or conventional. You need to make sure that the area in which the seed is sitting is also not going to affect the germination and emergence of the crop above ground. The optimum plant population ranges from 40,000 to 44,000 plants per hectare. Why? Because we are targeting to get a sizable cob, which we can sell, whereby we can sell more cobs for more money, thereby increasing profitability. So if you get between 40 to 44,000, yes, there is a tendency to want to increase population. Just yesterday, we were discussing with a farmer who was thinking of putting 2 pips per station at 75 centimeters interrow and 30 centimeters in row, giving them a population of above 80,000 plants. And I was discouraging this because the number of cobs that you might get might not be favorable. The shelf life of green mealies is not very forgiving. So you might end up having a crop in the field that no one desires to buy, and you incur a loss because you had established it as a green mealie crop, but it gets to a stage whereby no one is buying and you are forced to keep it and take it as a grain crop. So it's important for you to understand getting a sizable crop also increases the preferability of your produce on the market. So the seed rates, 25 kgs per hectare is enough for you to establish at a population of 40 to 44,000, even after factoring in the 3 to 5% yield or field losses that might incur. You can also establish a 50,000 kernel pack, whereby it will have slightly more than 50,000 kernels, guided by the size of the kernels that might be in the pack. The use of seed dressing chemicals is highly recommended in green mealies. Why? Because these green mealies are established at a time when we don't have a lot of green mealies or maize in production in the field. So the crop is prone to maize streak virus. So you might want to treat it with various seed dressing options, which I won't dwell much into, as we'll have specialists that will come in to address that. The fertilizer management. A healthy crop is most likely to give you good results. So you need to make sure that you understand the fertilizer, and the soil analysis is really the principle that we want to drive home. That's why we continue to hammer on it, to make sure that at least we understand that we need to get to a point where we use custom-made fertilizer recommendations guided by soil analysis. So after soil analysis, you get to understand the right type of fertilizer to apply, the right quantities of fertilizer, the right time. By the right type, we also mean that there are a wide range of options of fertilizers. We will hear more on this from the other speakers, the right quantities as well, and the right time. Allow me to explain on the right time there, whereby if you're going to be applying your basal fertilizer, as the name suggests, make sure that it's applied at planting, where the crop is able to utilize utilize it at the early stages of development and also grow its root system and also become more prolific. But if you're also going to then use a basal fertilizer together with a top dressing fertilizer as a mix, which is usually termed X, you might not get the benefit from one of the fertilizers, which could have been meant to work at a particular stage, because the crop has different growth stages that require different nutrients at different amounts. So it's important for you to take note of that. The basal fertilizer will range from 300 to 400 kg per hectare. The NPK should also be considered all the time when you're selecting fertilizers. You should not select a fertilizer guided by maybe the packaging that you are finding, but you also need to be guided by the nutrient constitution in the particular fertilizer. Examples include your 7-14-7, a standard, well-tried fertilizer over time. We have had double D coming in to mitigate transportation cost of production, blends being a new technology. We also have 6-23-23, which is a highly recommended blend owing to its high phosphorus and potash levels that tend to add value to the maize or cereal crop family. The top dressing fertilizers can range between 350 to 400 kg per hectare, and AN can be split applied in sandy soils and in sandy loamy soils. So it's important for you to understand the type of soil you have so that you maximize on your fertilizer use, whereby you don't want any leaching to occur, as this also poses a threat and increases the yield losses because you won't get the value. Then you also need to buy again the fertilizer to come back. Then the urea, you need to also apply it in moisture levels that are adequate, as it requires slightly more moisture for it to work. Yes, there are coated urea types that are available on the market, but you also need to reduce volatilization when you are using urea by understanding its nature and what it likes and what it doesn't. In terms of weed management, a weed-free field also brings out its value, and it gives the crop less competition in the field, whereby the weeds, where they grow, they know they are not wanted. So they will compete to their best level to make sure that they outshine the crop in question. So it's important for us to understand that weed pressure suppresses the growth of our crop. It competes with the crop for sunlight, it competes with the crop for space, it competes for nutrients, and you end up finding the crop being pale and malnutrition. So it's important for us to make sure that we are managing weeds. We would want ideal situation there, the way where we are seeing a weed-free field, if we can, right through until harvesting. But the critical stages that need to be weed-free range from around 8 to 12 weeks. But I also hasten to say that weed management is an integral part in increasing your profitability and the quality of your produce, and reduces contamination, and it reduces the harboring of insect pests that might also be harbored by the weeds, which might be in the same family as the crop in question. So it's important for us to take note of that. If we are going to be using a manual or mechanical methods, we need to be efficient and effective. Sometimes you find that if you hire people to come in to do the job, they will just brush through on top of the weeds. They will start growing again after a week of irrigation. So you don't want that. But we want to promote an integrated approach in terms of pest management and the IPM method, where you come in with the cultural practices, the mechanical, and you also come in with the chemical practices to increase efficiency, since farming is a business. So herbicide selection factors include the weed spectrum. You need to understand the type of weed that you're going to be dealing with for you to effectively control it. Are they broadleaves, grasses, or sedges? You need to understand the stage of control. Is it a pre-emergent product? Is it a post-emergent? The rotation plan again, whereby if you need to come in with a crop that is not within the same family as the maize, maybe you want to come in with potatoes. You've read somewhere that potatoes will be paying the next 6 months. You also need to do your blueberries. You need to understand the residual effect that the product you might be using, the herbicide you might be using, might have on the next crop, so that you won't be found wanting. So effective use of herbicides depends on correct interpretation of the label. All the products that are sold in Zimbabwe, according to the statutes of the Crop Life Society, also have a label which is clearly indicating the products that you need to apply, the active ingredient, the poison or toxicity in the triangle, as well as the use instructions. Is a prerequisite. So boring as it might be to read the label, just as much as reading the label of a medicine bottle for cough is also boring, but those instructions will make a difference between you making a dire mistake of applying the wrong rate or the wrong product in the wrong crop. So it's important for us to take time to read and understand the label or engage experts or agrochemical specialists that might also help you in understanding how that product is meant to work. Insect pest management is guided by an understanding of the problematic insect pest in a particular crop. Looking at green mealies, you find that some common insect pests include the stalk borer, the African armyworm, the fall armyworm, but you need to understand it's a situation on situation basis whereby some insect pests might be more prevalent in some fields than others. So scouting will guide you accordingly. But the cutworms, being nocturnal, you won't see them during the day. They'll cut at the base where the stem meets the ground. So you need to make sure that at least you have, if you have seen any signs of any chopped stalks or chopped stems, you just dig just around the soil around that plant. You might find the worm hiding or inside the soil. Then in terms of the white grubs, they tend to favor high organic matter, particularly from cattle manure. So if your manure is not fully decomposed, you might face that challenge. The armyworm moves in masses. If you are late, you will find your crop gone. They call you Monday, and then you say, I'll come on Saturday. There might not be anything to go to. So it's important for you to react timeously so that you get the desired results. Then fall armyworm again is another menace in crop production, also multiplying very quickly and being a challenge to control, particularly once it has reached a stage where you can count the dots on its back and see the feet and the yellow, the Y mark on its head. It means it has reached around the 4th instar, which is difficult to control. Then we have the African stalk borer, where sometimes you find when it burrows inside the stalk, it then causes the stalk to just wilt and then dry down. So it's important for us to be on top of the situation in terms of insect pest management through scouting in a systematic way. So for armyworm identification, as you can see there, the damage on the right, it eats right through to the tassel. So it affects even your pollination, and it eats even on the silks, whereby you know that each and every strand of silk, or it coincides with one grain. So where you are seeing some open spaces there, the silks might have been affected by the fall armyworm. So we need to also act timeously. You might see some adult female moths flying from time to time and not think it's a challenge, but this is where the problem starts from. So now looking at green mealie variety selection tips, what is it that our farmers look for when they are selecting the consumer? What does the consumer want? So the consumer wants a good cob size, long attractive cobs. The kernel set, deep-seated kernels are a must, and these you will find in each and every variety that you get from SeedCo, particularly the new varieties that we have on the market. The dry down rate, also important. The tolerance to diseases, particularly MSV, though if you are doing your crop in the winter period or soon after the winter period, you might still want to treat, because the vectors that include the leafhoppers will be in high prevalence at that time, so they will carry the maize streak virus into your field. So in terms of our varieties, in the very early maturing basket, we find SC419, a blockbuster variety that produces a sizable cob, which competes with the size of the cobs in the next maturity group, which is the early maturing. So this one will mature in terms of its green mealie maturity within about 110 days, plus or minus, guided, of course, by the management practices and the environment, where we look at the heat units, the altitude of the area. So in terms of the grain type, it is very good grain that has good roasting qualities. Then in terms of the other varieties that we have, we also have SC513, a variety that has been grown over time. But now it's time for us to embrace the new technologies that come with added benefits, whereby, yes, this was said to have a sweet taste, but the varieties that have been unveiled now, because of the need for us to give an extra large cob, because of the need to maintain or increase the taste or quality, include the SC555, which is a new blockbuster, which you saw from Centenary there, and we are hearing a lot of positive reviews of this particular variety, even as a green mealie crop. As you can see, the size is big. It's a plum-sized long cob, so it's something that we would want to recommend our farmers to adopt. It also has a stay green character, which is favorable for field holding capacity in green mealies. In the 600 series, we have the Desert Walker SC649, a variety of choice as well. In the white maturity group, it will mature in around 115 days, give or take, depending on the heat units again. Then in the 600 series, one of the blockbusters that we want to highlight, as is shown by our global wheat breeder there in a white shirt, Dr. Mabuyai, is SC659. It fits both for grain and for green mealies. So you might want to consider this variety again. The other advantage of this variety is that it will mature earlier than the late maturing varieties, giving you an advantage on the market over those farmers who might have planted late or planted varieties that take a bit of time. We have the Firecracker, the variety that has the best roasting quality, SC608. And it has been termed the Firecracker because in terms of its quality in roasting, its taste, its shelf life, it is one of the best. It is one of the best varieties that we have for green mealies, and it is a yellow with a difference, being preferred on the market. The farmers who establish it tend to have a favorable or a preference on the market to the white varieties. So it's a variety of choice. In the 700 series, we have 719 and we also have SC727, both varieties giving you a sizable cob, which also gives you extra large sized grains, which are attractive for cooking or roasting, and they'll give you a cob that is fully formed, particularly with the grain filled right to the top. And you'll see that these varieties have a stay green character, particularly 719, which allows it to be harvested for a longer period. So the Casa banana, as you can see, 727 is one of the varieties that our farmers and our market was talking about, particularly when we were visiting the Mbarimsika market and some other markets that we managed to visit in the provinces and in other areas. They were highlighting that SC727 still maintains or takes the cup because of its extra large sized cobs compared to other varieties. But it's about timing. If your timing is correct, then you get the desired results. So just to highlight again the new varieties that we have in our basket, yes, we have 419, but to match or to move hand in glove with 419, we also have 437, a new variety that also brings in added value. In the 500 series, 555, the blockbuster, now has an accomplice or a partner, SC547, which is a good variety for you to consider as well in green mealie production. In the 600 series, we have your 659, 661, 657. All these varieties will suit within the green mealie window, giving you again sweet taste and a good cob. The idea is to give every farmer a choice of a variety that suits within their preference. So we have a variety for every cropping program and every farmer in Zimbabwe, guided by our climate smart genetics that continue to evolve with time. Then as a take-home message, I would like to encourage you today to consider green mealies seriously. Why? Because if you're going to be selling by the number of cobs as opposed to the grain mass, you are going to be getting more value out of your maize crop. Why? Because it's a lucrative cropping venture with a higher return on investment and increased cash flows, as we highlighted earlier on. When is it the right time to do so? Soon after winter or in frost-free areas throughout the year? And with what? You need to make sure that you start with the right seed. The right seed is the foundation for you increasing productivity at all costs. And how are you going to do it? Through employing good agronomic practices, which then unlock the value which is hidden in the genetics that you will have been provided with. Having said that, remember last year we shared the pre-cap farm 608 profit story. Well, now they are in the process of planting again. They are green mealie, and this is the crop that they sold last year to people who were coming from as far as Bluewayo, Mutare, coming to Kwekwe to buy this yellow maize. Then we are seeing again there on the right, a happy farmer from Mashonaland Central Province, Glenara Estates, selling again their green mealie crops. And that day was a token of appreciation given to the agronomist. Farmers are encouraged to do so. So here we are seeing farmers from Gromonzi who are establishing their crop. These farmers tend to establish during the rainy season window, and the crop they finish off with irrigation. And Mr. and Mrs. Mabau are there. That crop was established in February, on the 15th of February, and they've just sold the crop in the last 2 weeks. they were getting between $2 to $2.50 per dozen, which is to say it's a profitable time for them to be selling, profitable window. And people were coming to buy from the farm. So that was the farm gate price. So with that said, I would like to leave you with these parting shots. For you to be profitable in anything you do, you need to do your homework, get the basics right, benchmark with the farmers who have done it before, and check your market if it prefers those particular crops or those particular varieties before you even venture into them, because you don't want to run or incur any losses when you have done something that the market doesn't want. So from the Arusha family there, holding their green millies, they are also farmers in Koromonzi, and one of our seasoned extensionists, farmer, and entertainer we are seeing there was Zanai, who is holding a sizable green millie crop, which was sold in the last month at Arusha Farm. Remember, farming is indeed a business. You need to start right, employ good agronomic practices, and remember, whatever you do in a business, you need to love your crop, love your environment, and make sure that you're on top of the situation. Thank you so much for awarding me this time to give you this presentation. We will be inviting questions. If we fail to respond to them in this particular presentation, we will definitely get back to you with the responses. Thank you to the Agribusiness team for planning this well-timed webinar in conjunction with SeedCo and the other partners involved. Thank you so much. And yes, green millies is indeed a profitable crop. Thank you.
Thanks to Wendy for such a wonderful presentation and highlighting the importance of seed variety selection and good agronomic practices. Next up is Justice Chembele, our soil health and crop protection expert, and he will share tips on maintaining soil health, a good soil health, and protecting our maize crop.
Good day to you, farmers. My name is Murimisi Justice from ZFC Limited, and our mandate is to help you get a better crop, and not only get a better crop, but have big, long, and sweet crops. That's our mandate, and we are here to fulfill that in your farming enterprises, and in particular in green millies production. And we are in season for green millies production. So today we are going to unlock the genetic potential, unleash the potential through good soil health, good crop nutrition, and also good crop protection. And when we are looking at green millies, we see that green millies is in the classification of horticultural crops. And when we are looking at horticultural crops, this means that there is intensive production, and the expectation is high in terms of the returns one gets per dollar invested. When taking a closer look, so when we're looking at green millies, it's under the classification of horticultural crops, and the expectation is high in terms of the return per invested. And one can grow green millies as rain-fed or as an irrigated crop. Money is in agriculture, and it takes place when others are in fear. So it is about, taking time to invest, knowing when is the right time, when are others not getting into this venture and taking the risk. Green millies will give high return as compared to commercial maize, because there are no combined harvesters, and there's no drying involved, and also there is no grain protectant cost involved. There's no need to even think about the acrylic gold dust. The farmer actually gets the market can even come to the field, and they can get their money there and there. So it is instant as compared to commercial maize production. And the time frame is good depending on the variety. Is the variety early maturing or late maturing? And this presents an opportunity for the farmer to practice intensive farming, intensive agriculture in terms of the time, the soil health. Are your soils, are they reciprocating what you are giving them? The crop nutrition, are you meeting the crop needs? Are you also meeting the soil needs? And also when it comes to the crop protection, are you guarding jealously your investment through things that take away investments such as your weeds, your insect pests, and also your diseases? And also, is your water right? Your type of irrigation? And also, are you meeting what the market needs? So what are the market expectations? The market expectations are that they want big cobs and also that are long, and they also want sweet cobs and sweet cobs that are soft and are harvested immediately after the milk dough stage. And is it yellow maize or white maize? And we are going to try these expectations through the crop nutrition that we are going to give our green mealies, and also maintain this through good crop protection. When we look at the plant population, spacing, and depth, for the farmer to get bigger crops, the farmer has to have a good plant population. And when we mean a good plant population, it has to be a lower plant population to allow the farmer to be able to have big crops that will be attractive to the market. And when we are looking at the planting method, would prefer that you come in with the 4R principle. And when we are looking at the 4R principle, that is the use of the right rate, and we are also looking at the right placement and the right time, and also the right source. We are advocating for soil analysis. Soil analysis is critical. It unless the farmer of the pH. The pH is the acidity and alkalinity using the calcium chloride scale, and we'll be using a pH range of 5.5 to 6.5. So anything below 5.5, that would mean it will be acidic, and this has implications on the type of yield the farmer gets. When we look at acidic soils, they tend to fix the phosphorus and also the calcium. So therefore, the calcium becomes unavailable for crop uptake, and also phosphorus becomes unavailable for crop uptake. And when we look at phosphorus, phosphorus is important in determining the yield. When it comes to the number of cobs, it is also the function of phosphorus. And when it also comes to the root establishing, it is also a function of phosphorus. When the farmer has alkaline soils, they also tend to suffer what we call an excess of calcium. And when there's an excess of calcium, this means that calcium becomes readily available and the structure of the soils becomes compacted. And also this means that the structure, even the watering and the drainage, it becomes disturbed because of the excess availability of calcium. So we would recommend 5.5 to 6.5 so that the farmer does not experience any deficiencies, and also the farmer does not experience any toxicities. And when we look at soil analysis, it now looks at the individual nutrients, that is your nitrogen, your phosphorus, your potassium, your calcium, your magnesium, and your trace elements, your zinc, your sodium, and how they relate to the crop yield that the farmer gets. When we look at the crop requirements, we have to connect it the nutrients that the crop will require. And we see that there are macronutrients that include your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And each of these nutrients have a contributing factor to the yield that the farmer gets. And today we're going to magnify each: nitrogen, the phosphorus, the potassium. Then we connect it to the overall yield that the farmer gets. So there are fertilizer options that will provide these macronutrients, and these are what we call refer to as the basal fertilizers. And when we are looking at the 4R placement, the 4R principle, the placement of the basal fertilizers is important because they contain phosphorus, which is immobile. So you require the phosphorus near to the root zone so that the crop can be able to uptake the phosphorus. So there are fertilizers such as your ZFC maize fit, your ZFC high D, and your ZFC cereal blend with the addition of zinc. And these are options which the farmer can use. And these can be classified into granulated or blend fertilizers. When we look at the granulated fertilizers, they tend to give more uniformity. And these examples include your ZFC maize, that is the 7-14-7, and the ZFC high D, that is the 10-20-10. It is important to look at the ratios when we look at the 7-14-7 and the 10-20-10 because they have an implication on the application rate. Is maize 7-14-7, you would require a higher application rate as compared to your ZFC high D 10-20-10. So averagely, after soil analysis, after meeting the phosphorus requirements, the nitrogen requirements, and the potassium requirements, the farmer can come in at a rate of 400 kgs per hectare of their maize fit, and also an average of 100 kgs per hectare of the ZFC high D. However, we always want the farmer to take note that feeding of a late maturing variety is different from feeding of an early maturing variety. A late maturing variety would require more feeding as it will spend most of its time as compared to an early maturing variety. And when we look at the high blend, such as your cereal blend, the 14-28-14, they have got the advantages of cost that the farmer is going to invest, and also in terms of transport, because they are used at a lower application rate. And also when we are looking at the run cost per muda chaipo, for your cereal blend, you require an average of 250 kgs per hectare. Then when we look at top dressing, it is important to relate top dressing with each crop development stages. The crop development stages that we refer as to V1, V2, V3, at each of these stages, they will require their nitrogen. And application of the nitrogen can come through sources such as your calcium, ammonium nitrate, and also urea. And all of these fertilizers are unique in their role and also in their significance in the farmer's field. When we look at calcium ammonium nitrate, it is a combination of calcium, and also the source is calcium carbonate, which means that the farmer, when they are applying their calcium ammonium nitrate, they are also lining the soil. In the process, that means that they are also, having the effects of acidic soils. Then the nitrogen source in calcium ammonium nitrate, it is both urea based and also nitrate based. That means that it is a slow release fertilizer. It will release, the nitrogen in small bits at every stages. That is the V1, the V2, and the V3 stage. And the farmer can come in at a rate of 500 kgs per hectare. We're using a higher rate because the nitrogen percentage is much lower as compared to the nitrogen in AN and also in urea. When it comes to urea, let us note that the nitrogen form is more prone to volatilization. So therefore, we encourage the farmer to come in with urea when the soil is moist, or when the soil is not moist, the farmer can cover their urea so that it is not prone to volatilization. And with urea, we come in at a lower rate because it contains 46% of nitrogen. And when it comes to ammonium nitrate, we come in at a rate of 450 kgs per hectare. At each of the, looking at the different types of fertilizers, urea, ammonium nitrate, and calcium ammonium nitrate, we must take note that when the farmer is in sandy soils, we encourage a split application of their nitrogen so they can come in at week 3 and also at week 6. If they are in heavy soils, that is the clay soils, they can come in once, depending on how the crop is reacting. I always say the crops also speak to us in terms of the color. The farmer should take note of the color changes that are taking place in the leaves. Is the color green? Is it light green? These can be indicators of whether leaching is taking place or not. At ZFC, we also are moving on with the times and new technologies, and we are also recommending the use of foliar fertilizers. Foliar fertilizers contain the macronutrients, that is your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and your potassium, and they also contain the micronutrients such as your zinc, molybdenum, that are not found in the conventional fertilizers in your normal compound D. So these fertilizers would feed nutrients to the leaves where they are needed. And they will also introduce the trace elements that have their roles in different stages of the crop development. When we look at nitrogen, nitrogen is crucial for good growth and also development of maize. It is an essential component of chlorophyll and is responsible for photosynthesis. So therefore, photosynthesis, this is our kitchen. That means when our kitchen is right, that means all the nutrients that have been manufactured, all the energy that has been manufactured, it can now translate into the yield that the farmer will get. And when we are looking at nitrogen, it is also a key function of the amino acids and the proteins that are required, for crop growth. And there are sources which nitrogen can come from. That is your dressing fertilizers, that's AN, your urea, and also your calcium ammonium nitrate. Then we also have foliar fertilizers that are rich in the nitrogen source. That is your quick grow and your foliar 15. When looking at deficiencies of nitrogen, we'll see that the color of the leaves starts to be yellow, starts to turn yellow, and there is stunted growth. So the farmer, when the farmer sees this, observes this, the farmer can come in with remedies of quick grow and also foliar 15, and this will help introduce nutrients into the leaves. And when we look at phosphorus, phosphorus is essential for the development of foods. And when we look at phosphorus also, it is a major component of DNA and also DNA. When a plant is deficient in phosphorus, we see purpling of the leaves, and the farmer can come in with remedies of MAP and also quicks that will help reduce the deficiencies of phosphorus. Then when we look at potassium, potassium is also important, especially in giving the vigor against drought, water stresses, and also against insect disease. It gives that resistance, and it is also responsible in the balancing of water uptake and also nutrient uptake. And it also plays a major role in the formation of our starches and sugar. When it comes to the kernels, it is also a function of potash. And also, this is also a driver, also even to the taste. It also comes through potassium. And when we see a deficiency of potassium, the leaf starts to turn red, and the farmer can come in with remedies such as your sulfate of potash or even your basement to help reduce the effects of potassium deficiency. Then when we look at zinc, zinc is important. And according to the survey that was done nationwide, it was seen that most of our soils in Zimbabwe are deficient of zinc. And zinc plays an important role in green millie's production when we look at yield and quality and shelf life. It is a function of zinc, and zinc also has that greening effect in leaves. It contributes to the green color of the leaves. And when we see a deficiency of zinc, that means that the farmer will experience poor kernel development, a reduced weight and cobs and lower sugar content that will affect the nutrient value of the crop. That means Murimi atokundwa nechekare because of that failure to supply the zinc. And zinc plays an important role as it is a major function of most of the enzymes in the plant. That means enzymes responsible for converting the starches to the sugars. It is a function of zinc. Zinc plays a role. And it also plays a role also in shelf life. When harvesting, then when we are looking at maize streak virus also, when a plant is deficient of zinc, it is also more vulnerable to diseases such as maize streak virus. It is also more prone, more vulnerable to insect attack and also disease attack such as your rust and your blight. When we look at weed management plays a role in the yield that the farmer gets. And there's a critical stage that we focus on when it comes to green mealies, that is from 2 weeks to 8 weeks. We are saying that this should be weed-free. The field should be as clean as the dining room, as this also contributes to the yield that the farmer gets. And when we look at weeds, the weeds themselves compete for sunlight, space, water, nutrients. So therefore the farmer has to guard jealously their crops from weed attack. Then we see that the soil is a reservoir. It's a bank of many weed seeds. So therefore, when the farmer plants and there's the introduction of irrigation, that means this will give a rise in the weeds that the farmers will get. Then when we look at weed management, the farmer can come in with chemical weed control to help reduce against the effects of weeds. Then when we look at classification of herbicides, herbicides can be classified into selective and non-selective. And the farmer can come in with a non-selective before they plant, and the non-selective herbicides, they can be either glyphosate or dicot. When we look at non-selective herbicides, they can be systemic or contact. When we look at systemic herbicides, we look at glyphosate. That means that glyphosate will be active when exposed to plant surfaces. It would attack anything that is green. So the farmer can come in with pre-plant cleanups before they plant of glyphosate. And we would recommend the farmer, when using this systemic herbicide, they do not require any disturbance. So the farmer can come in at planting with glyphosate if they are weeds present. That means if the farmer had done early land preparation and there were some weeds that had germinated, the farmer can come in with glyphosate, which is a pre-plant cleanup. Then the farmer can also come in at the same time with a pre-emergent herbicide. The pre-emergent herbicide, this means that the farmer can use the herbicide before the crop and also the weed emerge. So the farmer can come in with herbicides such as your ZFC Ambush, Integrity, ZFC Maricho, which has taken hearts of many farmers, and also the Joe Magnum, which is also known as the S-metallabin. It is important for the farmer to take note that our pre-emergent herbicide, to be effective, they look the soil type has a say. Are your soils sandy? Are they clay soils? When it's sandy soils, we come in at a lower rate, and when it is clay soils, we also have to come in at a higher rate, because clay soils tend to absorb herbicide molecules. So therefore, they would need a higher rate as compared to sandy soils. And we encourage farmers, when applying their pre-emergent herbicides such as the Ambush, Integrity, and Maricho, that they pre-irrigate, that there is moisture, so that there is a herbicide seal that will act as a blanket over the soil. That means that any weed seed between 1 centimeter and 3 centimeters will not germinate. And this will safeguard our crop from any weed germination. When we look at ambush, it covers a wide range. It has two active ingredients, that is your S-metalloclo and your flumethylam. So therefore, it will cover some grasses and most broadleaves. Then when we look at integrity, it will do grasses, broadleaves, and also shamba grass. And Maricho has an advantage that it can be used as a pre-emergence and also as an early post-emergence. And one of the testimonies that we got from one of our farmers was that when they used Maricho, they didn't even come in with a herbicide later on, just showing the effectiveness of Maricho. And when we look at dual, it can also do the grasses and also the yellow plants. Then when we look at post-emergence herbicide, we recommend the farmer that they come in with control of the post-emergent herbicide when their weeds are still young and tender. That is when most of our herbicides are effective, when they're young and tender and they can absorb the herbicide molecules. And we also have to take note of the environmental factors. When do we apply these herbicides? Is our crop stressed? Our weeds stressed? To achieve maximum effectiveness of our post-emergent herbicide, we have to ensure that our weeds are not stressed. So therefore, the farmer has to come in early morning when the weeds are vibrant, they are lively, and they are not stressed. There are herbicides that we have in stock, such as your Stellar Star, which does your broadleaves and also your grasses. But it is important, as our earlier speaker said, to read the label. And also, when it comes to Stellar Star, we recommend that the farmer, when the maize is now above knee level, when the green mealie is above knee level, we recommend the farmer to actually come in spraying, targeting the weeds and not the maize, because it has hormonal effect. It contains dicamba, which has a hormonal mode of action. And this will disturb the plant if the farmer sprays directly when it's above knee level. And the farmer can even mix their Stellar Star and their halosulfuron if they are having problems of nutsedge, and they also have problem with tangazi, couch grass. They can even come in with mixes of their Stellar Star and their halosulfuron. When it comes to power herbicides, we recommend that the farmer can come in with waiters to help these herbicides be effective. Those what we could refer to as adjuvants. So your herbicides such as your halosulfuron, your nicosulfuron, you can add in your adjuvants so that they are effective on the weeds. Then the farmer, when it comes to shamba grass and some broadleaves, they can come in with nicosulfuron. And then when the farmer has challenges with broadleaves, they can come of selection is dependent on the weeds that are on the field. We recommend farmers that it's not a one-fit-all. Nokuti ningazi utenga Stellar Star, ninonda kuisa Stellar Star. We actually recommend our farmers to come to us with their weed species, and we can actually identify the weeds, then recommend accordingly the herbicide the farmer can come in. Then when we look at pest control, we always recommend the farmer to scout when we look at pests, there are some pests that will cause direct damage there and there. Then there are some pests that will cause indirect damage, that will act as vectors, that will come in with viruses. And when the farmer now has viruses, there is no chemical control as yet for some of these viruses. So starting from day one, the farmer has to be aware that green mealies is affected by cutworms, stalk borer, white grubs, termites, fall armyworm, and African armyworm. So at planting, the farmer can come in with cutworm control. Cutworms would tend to cut the maize at germination, and they can come in with options as your lambda, your envelorate, and also your profitability. So the farmer can choose between these three options. Then when it comes to stalk borer, it is important to identify them. business. And we are recommending early identification of stalk borer, and the farmer can come in with some stalk borer granules in the farmers at least 3 to 4 weeks after. Then when it comes to fall armyworm, we recommend the farmer to even come in as early as 2 weeks for scouting. And when the farmer sees 1 or 2 infestations of fall armyworm, it means that the field is under attack. So we actually recommend the farmer to come in with chemical control. As ZFC, we've got Spike Extra, which is a chemical that contains 2 active ingredients. That is your emamectin benzoate and acetamiprid. The advantages of Spike Extra that it attacks all stages of the life cycle. The insect life cycle has the egg, larva, pupa, and adult. So the Spike Extra can attack all of these life stages. And the advantage of Spike Extra, it is systemic, so the farmer can even apply on the leaves. When fall armyworm tries to eat the leaves, it will be attacked. Then we also have Indoxa, which is also showing many testimonies with farmers because it has a stomach effect. It means after applying Indoxa, it will cause a cessation from feeding within 2 to 8 hours. So when we have an attack of fall armyworm, you can even come in with your Indoxa. When it comes to African armyworm, this one tends to be an outbreak. Farmers can come in with their Carbaryl or their Spike Extra or their ZFC. I would want to take a closer look at maize streak virus. Maize streak virus is a common disease that will attack our green mealie farmers, especially when the crop is irrigated. It is carried by leaf hoppers. So leaf hoppers, when they feed on the maize, they will also transmit the maize streak virus. And we also see that plants that are deficient in zinc, they are more vulnerable, more prone to an attack of maize streak virus. So we encourage our farmer to come in with foliar sprays of fertilizers containing zinc, and even come in with options, basal fertilizers that contain zinc to help prevent from the maize streak virus attack. And farmers can also come in with seed dressing with the popular known as gaucho. They can come in with gaucho or imidacloprid as a seed dressing. I would now like to look at some of the misconceptions that we may have when it comes to green mealies production. I'll look at compound eggs. Most farmers would say that their yield will increase when they use compound eggs, but we actually recommend the farmer that there is nothing called compound eggs when it comes to green mealies production. We are recommending our farmers to come in with their basal fertilizer, then come in with their top dressing to achieve their maximum yield. And when it comes to horticulture, each stage is critical. Jamba basal, you have missed out a lot on yield. If you jump, top dressing at 3 weeks, if you jump top dressing at 6 weeks, you have missed a lot on yield. So we recommend our farmers to come in at this stage and planting at 3 weeks, at 6 weeks with their crop nutrition regime. Did you know that at each stage, at V1, V2, V3, that is, the core, attributors of yield, they are already contributing. And if the farmer comes in a bit late with these crop nutrition solutions, that means that they have lost on their yield. Then when it comes to foliar fertilizers, we recommend farmers that these are not standalones. We would recommend a farmer to come in with soil analysis and also come in with their basal fertilizers and their top dressing fertilizers. Foliar fertilizers cannot be standalones. As green mealies, they have got their nitrogen requirements, their phosphorus requirements, their potassium requirements. And to meet these ratios, to meet these demands, we would also need to come in with the conventional fertilizer. However, the foliar fertilizers will give an advantage in terms of the trace elements that will not be found in the conventional fertilizer. Then when it comes to feeding, feeding is not a one fits all. Late maturing will have their own needs as compared to early maturing. And early maturing needs will require low feeding as compared to a late maturing. Then we recommend the farmer, if you take care of your soils will also reciprocate. They will also take care of you, and in producing high yields, and that will see the farmer getting their venture profitable and also getting greater value for their returns. And never miss a stage, never miss a process. At planting, be there. A fertilizer application, let's have a fertilizer program. Let's also have a crop nutrition program. Sometimes there's a tendency to invest more in the crop nutrition and forsake the crop nutrition. But did you know that if you completely do not even control your weeds, they can even lead to 100% crop failure. You can even lose your yield. So all of these, the crop nutrition, the soil health, they have a contribution to the yield that the farmer gets. And let us not underestimate the power and significance and importance of soil nutrition and soil analysis when the farmer is going for commercial purposes and also for high yields. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice, for emphasizing the importance of soil health and crop protection in green mealie production. Now it is time for the question and answer segment. Please feel free to ask your questions and share your thoughts via the chat here on Zoom, or you can comment if you're watching us live on the Agribusiness Media and SeedCo Facebook pages. So please feel free to send through your questions and comments. The first one that I'll take is for Justice. And it says, I'm facing a challenge with Tsangadzi. Kindly assist on how best I can deal with that problem.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rollins. And when we look at Tsangadzi, let's just magnify the physiology, the weed physiology of Tsangadzi. We see that Tsangadzi can produce seeds, that's the means of reproduction, and it also has underground structures. So therefore, when dealing with Tsangadzi, starting from day one, we have to limit the population through the seeds that are produced, and also taking note that Tsangadzi has also underlying structures. So remedies can come in on day one, where the farmer can come in with glyphosate if Tsangadzi had already germinated. So the farmer can come in with glyphosate. And the rate is so important. When Tsangadzi can come in at a lower rate of 3 liters per hectare, but Kanayati Kore, that is you can come in at a rate of 5 liters per hectare. Then when we look at different solutions at pre-emergence, at ZFC, we've got ZFC Marriage, which targets the seeds of Tsangadzi. So take note that Tsangadzi also can germinate. So you coming in with Marriage, it means that any weed seed of Tsangadzi will not germinate. We would have acted as a blanket over that there is no germination. But if we miss it at pre-emergence, the farmer can come in at post-emergence, and the farmer can come in with stellar star. However, let's take note that stellar star, Tsangadzi, but it will, it will bleach Tsangadzi because it is a bleaching effect. Therefore, this will give time for the crop kuti ikure. At the same time, Tsangadzi is suppressed. So it only suppresses, but it will not kill completely. So the farmer can come in with that option of stellar star. Then immediately after harvesting, we can even recommending the farmer to even come in with land preparation, targeting their next.
Thanks, Justice, for taking that one. Then, the next question here for you is, does ZFC offer soil analysis or tails testing services? And if so, what is the turnaround time for the results?
Yes, ZFC offers soil analysis and soil testing packages. That is your pH, where we look at your acidity and alkalinity. Then we have the basic package that we look at, the nutrients. And we also look at the pH. Then we also have a premium package where we are looking now at the trace elements, the zinc, the sodium, the molybdenum, the iron. And this one, I would really recommend it to our green mealies farmers because these nutrients are so important. And the turnaround time for the pH analysis, it's 4 days. For the basic package, it's 10 days. Then for the premium package, it's 28 days.
All right, thanks, Justice. And then another farmer here says, thanks, Justice, for such a wonderful presentation. May you please elaborate more on split application? Did you say compound D? Did you say AN? Please come again on that one.
Thank you so much. When it comes to split application, it's in our top dressing. You see that for top dressing such as your ammonium nitrate or your urea, you can come in with a split application, a split top dressing. So the farmer can come in at week 2, and also they can come in at week 6 or week 7. And also in sandy soils, we strongly recommend a split application as the soils, they are more prone to leaching as compared to the heavy soils.
All right, thanks, this. Then the farmer, I don't know if you have this one. They are saying, do you have a package for a single hectare? Say I want to grow green mealies for a hectare. Do you have a package for herbicides and insecticides?
Thank you so much for that. Definitely, we do have a package which the farmer can use, and the advantage of our package is that we are also correcting the yield even from the nutrition, moving on to the crop protection and also the herbicides. So it will include the herbicides, the insecticides, the fungicides also. Let's not underestimate the power that fungicides also play in green mealies, and also the crop nutrition through the basal fertilizer. So they can engage us, they can engage even our ZFC depots, and we can even get something, custom made, depending on the needs that the farmer wants, and also their target yield and their variety.
All right, thanks very much. Then farmer is asking for your details. May I please have Justice contact details?
Okay, so we are so happy with the technology that we have these days. You can contact me on WhatsApp, that's +263 773 394 117. And we also move on with the times. I'm also on Facebook. On Facebook, you can either contact me on Justice Chembele or on our ZFC Facebook page, that is at ZFC Limited. And also on Twitter, we are there also, ZFC Limited. And you can also have an interaction with us on Instagram. We are also there. We are here to help you get across.
All right, thanks, Justice. Then the last one here, the last one that we'll take because of our time says, I am a farmer in Mount Darwin. Where can I find ZFC technical support and products?
So for ZFC, we have managed to have our agronomists stationed in different provinces. So we have got Tashinga Mudzingi, who is based in Mashonaland Central, who can assist you. And Tashinga has the advantage that he can even do field visits on your field, be it starting from soil analysis, soil testing, soil interpretation. He can do that for you. Then also come in with a fertilizer program for you and a crop nutrition crop protection program. So you can get hold of Tashinga on 0772 146-981. I'll repeat 0772 146-981.
This marks the end of our webinar, and as we wrap up, we would love to thank our presenters, Wendy Madzura, she was representing SeedCo, and Justice Chembele from the Zimbabwe Fertilizer Company, ZFC. Thanks, farmers, for your participation and questions. You have made this webinar a great learning experience. We look forward to hosting more webinars on various agribusiness topics. Stay connected with us for updates on upcoming events, and be sure to join like-minded farmers in our WhatsApp groups. We have just sent you a link. Please do use that to join. We also invite you to share your experiences and ideas with the agribusiness media community. And remember that together we can create a network of farmers committed to innovation and sustainability in the industry. Thank you once again to our presenters and all the participants for making this webinar a success. We look forward to seeing you at our future events. Until then, take care and remember, happy farming is profitable farming. The name is Rollins. Have a great day. Thank you.